How's it going, guys?
How's it going, guys? Welcome to another Mystery Monday. Only today is not about mystery. It's all about horror. Rachel at The Shades of Orange, and I'm linking her channel down below, did this wonderful booktube in which she recommends horror books to horror booktubers, and she invited anyone that felt so inclined to do this tag. So here I am doing the tag, and I can't wait to recommend some of my favorite horror books to some of my favorite people. I'm gonna call it Horror It Forward. Perfect, guys. I'm really so excited to do this tag and so nervous as well, because I don't know, I have never directly recommended a book to people, and then I feel like there's moral obligation that they will enjoy the book. So I'm so sorry. Please don't have the book if you don't like it. Please don't feel like you have to read it, but I hope you enjoy, and I'll give you a few reasons of why I think you like the book. I had a lot of fun doing this. I think about making it a series. Like I'll have like the classic It Forward, Agatha It Forward, and thriller It Forward, so on and so forth. If you like that idea, comment down below and let me know, because yeah, that sounds fun. Without further ado, and this time I mean it. Oh, I forgot to say something, so I guess I do have to ado. My son here wanted to participate, and we figured that a fun way for him to do this is, before I give you the book synopsis, I will be showing him the cover of the book, and he'll tell you what he thinks the book is about based on the cover and title.
Hello, guys.
And then, of course, I'll give the synopsis, the real synopsis of the book. And just so I don't influence the reading, in case the person I'm recommending to decides to pick it, I'm not going to give my opinions or ratings. Some of them I have linked either on Goodreads or my blog, so you can check it out after you read. Or if you're interested in me doing a video highlighting any of these books, comment down below and I'll be glad to do it. I'll start with the wonderful Rachel, of course. This is her tag. I want you guys to go over there, give her support. If you have a channel, consider joining it and tagging her too, and giving recommendation, because this was a gift. I'm so excited. Thank you, Rachel. So I'm sure most of the people that read horror books are familiar with Rachel. She's this wonderful, witty, sarcastic person who likes sadistic books and doesn't shy away from body horror and the things that I cannot stomach. But she also likes, you know, your regular possession and anything and everything horror. As such, she has read a lot of horror books, and this was really, really, really hard to find something that I could recommend to her that I felt she would like and that I have read, because I haven't read many horror books yet. As you'll see with my list, most of my horror books are either recent books that I found out through these wonderful channels, or classics, because before, the only horror I would read were either classics or a controversial author that I'll get to in one of my recommendations. She is very picky about her vampire books, as am I. There's very few vampire mythos out there that I actually buy into. She enjoys a book with a dark, tense, or intense atmosphere. She loves dysfunctional families. And as you can see from one of her books, and please go and check it, she doesn't shy away from some sexy times in some books. So is there a book that has it all and she hasn't read it? Yes. I hope she'll take this in consideration. I hope she hasn't read it. I didn't find it on her Goodreads. But I recommend to Rachel The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. I'll put the picture here because my physical copies has been lent to a friend, and it's been almost a year and a half and I haven't got it back. But yes, I love these books. I've read them for the first time in my teens, and two of the characters I still linger with me, and are still my favorite characters of all time, and that's Julian and Mona. The dislike I feel for Anne Rice's vampires is directly proportional to the love I feel for her witches. Jess, this is the cover.
I assume it's about some kids who found something on Google and they stayed up until 3 a.m. or 12 a.m. because some people think that one of those two are the witching hour. Okay. I think they're trying to summon Ronald McDonald at 3 a.m. Hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper.
Wow, is the witching hour about kids trying to summon Ronald McDonald? No. Well, no. No. The Witching Hour is a wonderful book, one of the best books I have ever read, especially one of the best witch clan you will ever meet. That chronicles the life of the Mayfair Witches clan. They are a family that lives life to their fullest. Okay? They have no regard, well, most of them have no regard for social constructs. To them, incessant murder is not an issue. You know what life is? Life is a big party. And if living their life to the fullest is not enough, their history is intrinsically connected to this weird being called Lesher. I won't go much into details of who Lesher is because through Rowan Mayfair, the most recent witch that is the main protagonist of the present timeline, we delve into who he is. So, as I said before, this book is told in many different timelines. Some of them are more prominent than others. The main one, which is our starting point, is present day. It starts in California and goes to New Orleans, and in it we follow Rowan Mayfair. She is part of the Mayfair clan, but she has no idea she has special powers. She has no idea of her family history and she's a neurosurgeon, so you know she's very scientific minded. She doesn't believe in the occult and things like that. But then one day, she's walking on the beach because, I mean, why not? It's California. And she finds a body. There's this dead guy, and being a neurosurgeon, she just can't accept he's dead. So she starts doing CPR and try to bring him back to life, and she wills him back to life, and lo and behold, he does come back to life. Oh, that's weird. Why? How did I do that? And then, as another plot twist, Michael was actually born and raised in New Orleans. So as the two start talking and get familiar with each other, they decide to investigate basically the family history to know why that happened. So Rowan goes back to New Orleans, which is basically her whole American lineage is from. As she starts exploring her legacy and the history of her family, we have glimpses of these different timelines. Two of the most prominent ones, other than the present, are the beginning of it all, which is the 17th century in Scotland, in which, like, the founder really of the clan, Suzanne, first met Lesher. My favorite timeline, which is also very important to the story of the Mayfair Witches, is in 1920s New Orleans, where the Mayfair clan is led by a man, Julian, who not only is a larger-than-life character, he also happens to be the only male in the whole history of the Mayfair Witches to possess these occult powers that are, you know, passed through the generations and are linked to Lesher. I don't know, I hope this book sounds good to you. Like I said before, I might be a little rusty and between the interruptions. I hope this is not too choppy, but this is my recommendation for you, Rachel. I hope you consider reading it. If you don't, just let me know if it's not your preference, and I'll try to think of something else. But if anyone reads this book, like, I hold it dear to my heart, and it's a fun read. Okay, so next I'm recommending a book to Nakia from Nakia's Hideaway. She's classy, beautiful. I love her opinions, much like Rachel and a lot of people in this list really, is not afraid to DNF. So choosing a book for her was very daunting. So here what I know about her. She prefers quality over quantity. She's not afraid to DNF. She loves horror, sci-fi, and thriller. I tried to find a book that would have a lot of those elements combined, and I narrowed it down to 2, and I'm afraid I might have made the wrong choice. But the runner-up was Frankenstein, and I'll talk about it later because I'm recommending it to someone else further down the list. But the book that I chose for her was The Patient. That's what my guide told me, and I hope she likes it. If not, at least I know that she'll DNF. I picked a book that was short because I want to be mindful of her time, but also has elements that she likes. She likes psychology in books, and she likes, like I said, she likes thrillers and sci-fi. And this book is not necessarily a thriller, it's pure horror, but throughout the whole book you wonder what's going on. So you don't know if it's horror elements, supernatural elements, if there is just psychological elements to it. So it has that basis of thrillers or mysteries that you try to find out what's going on. The one thing that makes me nervous about this book is because she has a hard pass on some trigger warnings, and one of those triggers are present in this book. But the one thing I'll say, it is in 1 page. It was important to the plot, and even though it lingers with you and makes you sick, it only happened at 1 time. So Nakia, if you still want to read this book, let me know down below and I'll tell you what page to avoid. And you can look up the other trigger warnings, but overall, I think you're really gonna enjoy it. It's a Lovecraftian One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Before I get into the book's brief synopsis, I'll ask Jess to guess what this book is about.
The Patient. Is that the silent patient?
No.
Okay. Just The Patient. I assume it's about a doctor who's a serial killer and he kills his patient, then flees the country, gets a new identity, and files off his fingerprints.
In my opinion, I loved it. It was the first book that scared the hell out of me. I started reading it at night and I had to put it down and pick it up the next day, and I read in 1 sitting. It's a very short book, and in it we follow Dr. Parker, who is this wealthy psychiatrist who just graduated and feels he can change the world. So instead of going to a very expensive, starting a very expensive clinic or going to some of the best psychiatric hospitals in the United States, he decides to apply and get a job as this state-run psychiatric hospital because he really thinks he can change the world. This book, we know what happened. Something really weird happened, and we know this through Parker's account, through blog posts. So it's kind of like a mixed media. Is his post that tells exactly what happened during his little stunt at this state-run psychiatric hospital. So his blog posts are about his efforts to cure his efforts to cure the titular patient. Okay, what is so special about this patient, you ask me? Well, he's someone who joined this psychiatric hospital when he was 6 years old, and he's 40 years old right now. 40. Okay. But what is his diagnosis? Guess what? Nobody knows. Oh, nobody knows? Yeah, nobody was able to put a finger on his diagnosis. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody has contact with him. Why? Why, you ask? Well, because it so happens that everyone that has had contact with him either went mad themselves or committed suicide. So, of course, this young and arrogant, really, doctor thinks that he knows better than, you know, all these people from all these years. And he goes and does like, boom, I'm going to diagnose him. I'm going to tell him what it is. I'll come up with a cure. I'm going to write like a blog about it. And if the blog goes viral, I'll do a research paper on it. But no. Does it happen? Do you really think that Parker had a breakthrough in this case? I don't know, it's either he did or something went really wrong and you need to read to find out. This is the book that I recommended for Nakia from Nakia's Hideaway. I hope she likes it. Next, I am recommending a horror book to Rylan from Escaping Through Novels. Well, she and I have a lot of similar tastes. And this is one of my favorite horror books of all time. I hope I don't ruin your summer, Rylan, so I suggest maybe read it in the fall because this can be a very heavy book. But I picked this book for some reasons. One, again, like I said, is because we have similar tastes, but also I know that sometimes she likes to read a book as she listens to an audiobook, and this one has both, and the audiobook has a nice narration as well. Like, I don't even know how to describe this book, but if you want a stunningly daunting, beautiful, claustrophobic, gentle yet distressing book about how a house becomes haunted and how rotten humans can be, look no further than We Have Always Lived in a Castle. Jess, what is this book about?
Somebody who keeps their kid locked in a castle and tries to rip out their head so that they can make kid soup.
Is that what We Have Always Lived in a Castle is about? Fortunately, no. This book is very character heavy. It doesn't focus as much as on a mystery, but on the lives of these families. We meet Uncle James, Constance, and Mary Cat, and they live together in this house. They rarely ever go out of the house since the rest of the family died. That in itself is a mystery. The village doesn't really like them, and we have, I think it's beautifully implied that some of them suffer for some mental diseases. And Mary Cat is extremely childish, ritualistic. She's wicked, but innocently so. And she is 18, but she acts like a child. And she's the only one that every now and then goes out to the town to buy supplies they need. So they are very self-contained, happy to live that way family. And they are living in synchrony until one day Cousin Charles shows up, and his presence disturbs everything. He is a disgusting character. You know how you have like unlikable characters? He's it to the top. I was the whole book just telling him to go away, go away, go away. But yeah, it is what it is. It's fine. It's fine. I'll read the first paragraph of the book and then we'll move on. My name is Mary Catherine Blackwood. I'm 18 years old and I live with my sister Constance. I have often thought that with any luck at all, I could have been born a werewolf because the two middle fingers of both of my hands are the same length. I like my sister Constance and Richard Plantagenet, and Amanita phalloides, the death cup mushroom. Everyone else in my family is dead. So this is We Have Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson. And I recommend that to Rylan. So, are you ready for my controversial pick of the bunch? I kept going back and forth on whether or not to recommend this book, but it is scary, very scary. And I think I'll give the choice out there. So I'm recommending The Call of Kulolu to KJ from BookishKJ. I love her channel. We interact a lot on Twitter. I'll link her Twitter down below as well because she's very active there. And we have very similar tastes. And I could see on Goodreads that she has read that she has read The Patient and she gave it 4 stars. And I feel that if she gave 4 stars to the book, she is gonna love this one. It is a Lovecraft book, and I know he's a very controversial author. So KJ, I hope that you can separate the author from the works. But I chose this book because now it is public domain. The royalties has expired, so even if you choose to read it and you don't even have to talk about it to give him clout, but he is not gonna get any money from anyone reading this book right now. So I figured that in itself was enough for me to recommend the book with fearful but clear conscience, if that makes it sense. And please, 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 if you disagree with this, don't hate me or unsubscribe. I promise this is the last time I'll talk about Lovecraft on my channel. Jesse, what is first of all, how do you say this book? The name of this book, and what do you think it's about?
The Call of Cthulhu, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I have played a few games in my history.
Cameras there, buddy.
I'm pretty sure that he's like a fallen angel or like a rogue god. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It's like about a sea monster, essentially. He's like a bad god. He's like a demon.
Okay, so he was not that wrong. Cthulhu is a cosmic god of some sort. This is a compilation of short stories that basically tells the tales of madness and despair. All of our narrators at some point from the different tales are driven to madness by unexplained encounters with horrific beings that the more they investigate, the madder they get. They start to wonder what's real and what's not. Not only they're getting mad because they are being faced with this otherworldly concept and being that they cannot explain, but there's this overwhelming sense of despair because they are where they're getting mad, not married. Is it the same thing though? Sometimes it is, right? But anyway, okay, so in this book, one of the tales obviously is the Call of Cthulhu, and that's the one in which we are introduced to the Cthulhu myth, which has a very intense and in-depth world building Lovecraft explores in other books, and is a perfect blend of science fiction and horror, like a lot of horror. And I don't know, when you read it, you feel the sense to the narrators is you feel it's maddening, and at the same time it's just so insidiously claustrophobic. Well, that's why I recommend it. Sorry I talked about Lovecraft, but please, I hope you like this recommendation, KJ. If you don't, comment down below and I can think of a less controversial pick for you. Next on my list, I have a recommendation for Lisa G at Pink Paradox Reads, and she's another one that reads a lot of horror, talks a lot about horror books, movies, and everything horror in her channel. She has read everything and their mother, and it was really hard to find a book to recommend to her. So I think I found one, and I hope you like it. For Lisa, I recommend to you The Return. First of all, the cover is pink. Second of all, I really want to know what she thinks about this book. Her opinion means a lot to me, and this is one of the books that you can read it in quite a few different ways. Depending on whatever lens you read this book from, you're going to get a different experience. So I can't wait to talk to people about this book. And I will say that one of the lenses you can read this book from is the one I did. And in it, it can be a very sad book. So I recommend you wait until you are in the right mood for this. But you might not get that experience from me anyway. Jess, what is The Return about? He's sitting on the couch now, so you're just going to have to hear his voice because, you know, he's a teenager.
I think it's about somebody who, like, leaves a home. And then when, as like a kid, and then like they run away, and then when they're older, they come back, and like something bad happens, and it's like haunted.
That's a good synopsis, but is that what this is about? No. So in this book, we have 4 friends that met in college. We have Elise, Julie, May, and Molly. They have gone through a lot in life and remain friends, but then one of them goes missing, and their dynamic changes forever. Two of them are ready to move on. Another one is sure that the person that went missing is gonna come back. And 2 years later, lo and behold, she does come back, but she doesn't come back the same. Things are very different, and in an attempt to rekindle their friendship, they book this very themed hotel getaway. The hotel is creepy. What happens there is creepier. And to top everything else, as these three friends slowly find out what happened to the one that returned, the story gets reaches its creepiest point. Dun dun, I'll leave it like this. Lisa, I hope you like The Return. If you read it, let me know. And again, I'll say this, but for everyone, if you don't like her recommendations, just let me know down below and maybe I'll try to recommend something else. Next, I have a recommendation from Jane from the Bookaholic. All the channels are linked down below, you guys. But Jane and the next one on my list, Dany, they recently roasted it. I have to read this because it's a tongue twister for me. 72 Frightathon. 72-hour readathon about horror themed. So I know she reads some books, and Jane also just literally started. There was a video this week, TBR of Colors game, in which she has this wheel with different colors. She spins them every month, and she chooses a book whose color she gets to read that month. Watching her video, she struggled to find a green book. So this is one of the reasons I picked this book for her, because if she can put on her backlist next time she gets a green. And it is Frankenstein. Most of the covers of Frankenstein are green. Mine is mainly black, but this is like a fluke. But there's a lot of green. I would consider this if you consider black the absence of color, the predominant color is green, so she could even use my cover for that. But anyway, Frankenstein, I recommend this book to anyone, but part of the reason why I think Jane is going to enjoy it and why I thought Nakia would enjoy it, this was my runner-up, is because this is a classic. It is deep. It is written by a female who was 18 years old and wrote this wonderful book in a world that was ruled by men. The female voice is fierce. It's also a deep and witty book, in my opinion. It blends sci-fi with horror, and there are so many movie versions of Frankenstein, including the black and white classic, and that's why I thought Nakia would enjoy it too. But I hope she doesn't regret The Patient, and now I hope that Jane likes Frankenstein. Jess, what is this book about?
What did you say, Frankenstein? It's about a scientist who makes a monster called Frankenstein.
He is almost right.
Almost?
Yes.
I've seen the episode of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo got it wrong. We have Victor Frankenstein, the scientist, who's lonely and bored. And you know, what do you do when you're lonely and bored? You wait until the night falls and you visit graveyards and you steal body parts in order to create life. I mean, why not? I mean, I'm sure it sounded like a good idea for him, right? So he finds his parts, he sews it together, he puts the monster on a table, and he uses electricity to bring this being to life. After going through all the trouble, Dr. Frankenstein decides to get another hobby, and you know, because he didn't really like the creature he created. So what follows next is this poor, innocent creature who was brought to life against their will, starts the life with rejection. Can you imagine what that feels like? Honestly, in this scene, and I know it's a horror book, okay? Don't laugh at me. But every time I think about the creature, I cry. Like, I'm getting tear up right now. Like, how dare Dr. Frankenstein give life to this being and not treat them with respect and love? Like, can you imagine being born and all you know is rejection? Because of course, he's a gruesome creature. So the one that gave him life doesn't love him. Why should anyone else? Nobody does. So what does this creature do? Like, they have no other choice, guys. You learn how to love by being loved. He was never loved. All he knows is rejection. Obviously, the creature is gonna lash out. And that's the horror part of the story. Just so you know, fun fact. Frankenstein is the name of the real monster of this book. Hope you're liking. Next, we have Dany at Dany Marie Reads. She was a co-host for the 72 Frightathon. And choosing a horror book for Dany, I consider that she loves fantasy and manga. And I chose a horror book that, in my opinion, would make like an amazing manga. And it also makes me wonder if that's where the expression liquid courage came from. But the book I picked for Dany is... Ooh, it's hard to see, eh? Okay. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I mean, everyone, to some extent or another, have heard about this book. So I wonder if Jesse has as well.
Maybe demon investigators?
So he thinks it's a book about demon investigators, is it? Not really. This is a book that also... I'll hold it here, but you can't really... You know what? You can't really see this cover on camera, so I'll put the picture here. So, is this book about demon investigators? No. This book is basically about a coward. What would you do if your deepest instincts were not accepted by society? Would you do like most people and just tame them and let it go? No. That's like, honestly, that's too peasant. What you do as a scientist is you create a drug that when you take it, you allow your alter ego to take over your body and do everything you want to do, but you're too afraid of. And why do you do that though? Because you will have no memory. And if you have no memory, you can feel no guilt. Right? Boom, boom. In a nutshell, that's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And there are other really fun stories in this book as well. I'm almost done, I promise. I have 2 more. Next, I have Stasia at Reader C. And I'm recommending a book to her for a couple of reasons. I've noticed that she has read a lot of the classic horrors, and this happened to be my favorite of all times. And by classic, I don't mean like classic horror from the century, but like the classics. And this happens to be one of my favorite of all times. And I also know she loves romance. And she has her favorite tropes. But I wonder, and I almost want to bet that she has never read a romance in which that has a trope of the character being in love with themselves. So maybe it's, well, that's what I'm rolling with, guys. I don't know. I love this book so much. I love the character of Dorian Gray. I live vicariously through his debauchery. He is one of the few characters that I am so fascinated by, but I cannot relate at all because I have morals. He has none. And yes, I think everybody should meet Mr. Gray and hopefully fall in love with him. But nobody can love him as much as he does love himself. So maybe don't fall in love with him. And one thing that I also like about Dorian Gray is there are many ways to read his sexuality. I read him as pansexual. I wonder what you think of him. Comment down below. But going to Jesse's input first. This is called The Picture of Dorian Gray. What do you think it's about?
A picture in a big house that somebody buys, and the picture comes to life, kills them.
That is a good guess. like pretty close. So there's few things Dorian Gray loves in life. He loves partying, he loves arts, he loves sex, and above it all, he loves himself. But unfortunately for Dorian Gray, beauty and youth is a finite concept. He can't be beautiful and youthful forever, especially because he thinks that beauty is youth. So what does he do? Does he live his best life and let it run its course like a normal person? No, bish. He sells his soul. I mean, that makes sense, right? So why not? He sells his souls for eternal beauty and youth. Meet Dorian Gray. Last but not least recommendation, I'm recommending a book for Jordaline at Jordaline Reads. She is fierce, and I won't lie, I'm recommending this book for her for pure selfish reasons, because I love the way she does reviews, and out of all the books that I can think of, this is like the book that whether she loves or hates this book is going to be entertaining to watch. So for Jordaline, I recommend Secret Santa by Andrew Schaefer, by this guy. I am pretty sure she hasn't read it yet. So hopefully she'll read it and I'll love her review. I already do, and I don't even know what she thinks about the book. Jess, what do you think Secret Santa is about?
Somebody who gets a Secret Santa gift, but it's actually a gun. No, a robot spider an alien that jumps up and eats their face, and then an alien comes out of their back, enslaves the human race, and then becomes Santa.
How he got that from this cover, I don't know, but he is not right. Okay, so Secret Santa is a book set in the 80s, and we follow Lucy, who just got a new job at a publishing house. Only, you know, her job starts with the daunting task of finding the next it author that would rival Rice, like as in Anne Rice, King and Straub. Not an easy task. As if that wouldn't make her new job hell, she is victim of very mean pranks from everyone else in the office. As if the heavy hazing wasn't enough, things take a turn for the worse during the gift exchange, the Secret Santa, of the office's annual Christmas party. Lucy receives this demonic looking gift, and I'm assuming that people that gave it to her was hoping that it would be like a talisman that would bring her bad luck. But joke is on the suckers, because you know what happens? Everyone starts having horrific accidents. Not her, but other people. Lucy, being the kind soul that she is, she notices the pattern and she wants to get to the bottom of things, so she gets the help of one of her ex-authors, Mr. Nightingale. And with his help, she wants to find out what it is about this object and how to make it stop doing what it is before it completely obliterates everyone and everything in the office and leaves her without a job, and, you know, before it costs her soul. So this is Secret Santa. So these are my recommendations for the Booktubers. If you like the recommendation, please comment down below. If you read them, let me know. If you decide to do this tag, please do a recommendation for Rachel as well, because she is the original, the person who created this tag. So it'd be nice if she can get recommendation from all of you wonderful people. And if you're so inclined, recommend me a horror book as well. With that out of the way, I noticed one thing, and I have one favor to ask. So the one thing I noticed when I was looking into what books to recommend to people to see if they have read them yet or not, I noticed that this little gem that I've talked about in every single video last week, the Mary Shelley Club, you can just check the card right here if you want to know what it's about, but it was on a lot of people's TBR. So I wanted to have an open invitation. I'll hold off starting this book until everyone has had a chance to decide whether or not you want to do a buddy read with me. So anyone who's watching this video and anyone I have tagged, if you want to do a buddy read of the Mary Shelley Club, let me know down below. And once we all have get a hold of the book, we can start reading it together and talking about reading it together. And thank you so much, KJ. She was my first buddy read and I really enjoyed it. So now I have these propositions for you guys. Don't feel like you have to, but yes, I think KJ just started something she doesn't even realize. But anyway, the other book I have is The Exorcist. Have I watched the movie 1,000 times? Yes. Have I lost sleep and I had to sleep holding hand of someone with the light on every time I've watched this book? Yes. Did it scare me? Yes. Back in the day, did I actually have a original VH copy? Yes. Have I ever read the book though? No. But I know this is one of Rachel's favorite books. And I know that it will scare me. I finally got it, but I know I'll be very scared. So it'll be nice to do a buddy read too. So if you also, anyone who's watching this video is interested in doing a buddy read of The Exorcist, so I don't have to be scared by myself, let me know down below as well. Well, guys, I know this was long and I talk a lot, but I hope you enjoyed my horror books recommendation. See you on Wednesday, and until next time, be the hummingbird. Mwah. Bye.